I'm considering doing a video without distractions and people bothering me, but I just can't get away. I came to a quiet spot, a secluded, nobody here spot where they can't come around, and they just popped out of nowhere again. So I just don't want them close enough so that I can hear what they're talking about, and that one's walking a dog, so that should be a little bit fine. This one's going to be about the ego externalizations, and I'm being mindful of my language because I don't want to use psychological language in saying they want to yell, they want to distract me, they do not want me to get into my higher mind, and I have this knowledge clearly. They don't want my light to just across the universe, but I can guarantee and let them know, just I'm sending it into the universe, that as soon as I do, their defeated foe enemy selves will have no power. They are already having their last stand. So these are not that they're powerful. When the enemies do this, like the enemy spirit, motivation, darkness that's in them subconsciously doesn't know what they're doing, but it's doing. And what we have been habitually trained since childhood to think is that they're making a stand, so we're defeated and we're powerless. But what that is it's not a stand. It's the beginning of a new, kind of like a new age. And they like to demonize new age, the word, because the Lord said, I am with you even until the end of ages. So the end of their age, and we are entering a new age, a new era, is what that is. We are now entering my era of truth in my life, in my experience in this universe, and any of ours. If we want to take a stand, we're going to have this external persecution. So it's of the ego. The ego does not want to let go. The ego and others do not want to let you go. They want to keep you controlled, rattled, and tattled. So I don't know. But I got notes, so we are on track. I was going to try to explain the concept and the topic, but let me just let's go, because we know what happens when I do this lately. So it's about, obviously, not externalization, ego externalizations, but the external mirror reflected ego magnetism. We're going to be tested. We're going to be tried. That if what we're standing on is solid foundation and gold, or if it's just wood, twigs, chaff, sand, whatever. So if we are solid in our beliefs and faith and convictions and truths and the revelations that we receive from our gut brain, connected to our higher brain, our highest brain. Okay, so there we are. We perceive fear from the gut, because there's too much parasitic darkness, fragmented light particles, aka angels of darkness, floating in there, blocking the walls of the intestine from being able to absorb and reabsorb full, true gut solar light particles. When we perceive external people, situations, things as fearful, the gut is under attack and digesting the darkness, fear particles within us. Now, external people who trigger via utterances or sudden, unusual, frightening, or disruptive behaviors, posturing, or gestures. They're only feeding on that dark bile within us. They smell it as food. They hunger it, unfortunately, and they go in for their prey, us. They want to consume the children of God. They don't have what we have, this light substance in us, this particle. We're like meat to them. If they could just sink their teeth into us, they would. Except for the laws governing our body, they cannot. So some consciously, others unconsciously, and even others predatorily do this. They're sounding their vibric alarms, their shofar sounds of darkness to each other, to us, alerting all fight, flight, freeze, and fawn parasympathetic nervous systems around their distress. They're picking up again, remember our pushed out egoic childhood fears and wounds and traumas. We are consciously manifesting or reliving, or by default just scraping by the skin on our teeth kind of deal of this old version of ourselves, and we're trying to step into the new of our higher selves. So we don't have enough power, gas, whatever, energy to take us into that newer level. So we're stuck on this lower operating system of mind and spirit and body, and they are so when we are hungry, when we are without something, we have a deep desire or longing or a strong intention to have what it is we need. And when we don't have this, we still have a deep generated, magnetized, emotional situation going on there. And what it usually gets thrown into that whirlpool of muck going on that we're stuck in since childhood, and trapped in, is it's a pit of hell vibration. So we are in all the lower emotion, mind, survival system, survival response, defense mechanism. I was trying to think of that the other day. I still can't think of it. The survival mode, and we're stuck in that. So we're getting a mirror image, kind of like the Radon and Mortal Kombat, like mirror image. Like you get your mirror image of yourself, and you have to fight yourself on the outside. Only they show up as other people, and we're not fighting flesh and blood, but spiritually they are doing, acting, showing the dang same exact thing that's coming from within us. We are generating it. We don't mean to, but they are showing us it back. And also there are others who we're attracting that have the same wound, the same fears, maybe. And in my experience, we attract opposites. So we attract people who, if we have a wound, they want to destroy it. They internalize, here's something for destruction. Look at it's being destroyed. Let's go in for the kill, right? So they spiritually, mentally, where am I? So if we're knee deep or higher and well outside of our window or precipice of tolerance, we sink into the projected egoic fear posturing activations and internalize it as our own. We internalize it angrily, resentfully, attitudinally, as an attack, a threat, of an external person. Doing a lot of self-help work, we come to learn that we're not fighting people. We learn to forgive. They are not purposely trying to harm us or get us, and they don't even know, they're not conscious of what they're doing. Because if you spoke to them and said, you know what, listen, I think you're trying to attack my mind here, and they say, oh no, I'm not trying to do that at all, I didn't even know maybe I was doing that. They would not be aware, unless the ones who are predators, they know they're trying to trigger and push buttons. So we're not fighting flesh and blood, we're fighting the spiritual wicked principalities and forces of darkness that are rooted deep within our gut and our mammalian ego brain, conditioned and planted in us from childhood. And the other part is the alongside agreements we chose with those maladaptive conditionings and rearings that we got. We chose our own things that complemented those things that were happening to us, so we're part at fault too. So there are those who do not mean or intend to cause people alarm, but do so subconsciously, being accustomed to the internal childhood struggle of power and control or trauma dynamics, and so they want to recreate this. They don't know they want that, but everybody's looking for energy, and nobody in the world knows how to generate energy. And especially if you don't have God and the higher mind, you're stuck bottom feeder, guppying like the bottom of the tank for any fallen prey that you can get, anything bleeding and wounded and yelping, like you go in for your little feeding festival. These humans feed upon humans instead of they feed upon the psyche, the spirit, the mind. And we won't talk about the ones that do the cannibalism, whatever the business that was, in books that we've read. And so they want to recreate those drama dynamics and trauma dynamics that they grew up in with somebody to commiserate with who has a like wound, similar, like attracts like, or an opposite. So they think you are the cause of their problem because you're wounded, so now they can punish you. It's a whole, there's psychology to all that. You might want to learn about it, but complement everything with spiritual understanding and Jesus technology wisdom. So they want to control others, or worse, if they're full-blown messengers of darkness, having given themselves over to darkness, they try to mortally wound the spirit, the soul, the consciousness, in order to sabotage God's will and God's gut light digestion within us. So the will of God, it's already in us. The gut light, we don't have it if we're not following the will, or we can't access it because we have too much trauma, or we're stuck in the muck down there, which we're trying to get out of. So God said we will no longer be kept in darkness, but we will know all things because we're his friends, and he will talk with us openly. So a related scripture is John 16:13. So we see these people, they come up with these cacophonic utterances. They're walking their dogs, they're shopping, they're approaching close, they're standing idly nearby, just eavesdropping, listening, pretending they're doing something subconscious, like all these different, you got people around, you always will have them everywhere you go on earth. And when you're in this dynamic though, trying to descend from transcend into the higher mind, in the spirit brain, you're gonna have a war with your ego and theirs, and ultimately the original dark messenger, the false angel of light, Satan, who got kicked out. He's a story for another day. How that happened and how it belongs in this process, or how it's understood in this process. So he said we will know all things, and those people want us to be afraid, be triggered, be wounded, hurt us more, so that we can stay down and we don't rise up, because we'll destroy by the fact that we exist and live into our full power their shallow, little, distorted, wounded worlds. Will be too bright for them, too much light. And if we have truth and audacity and all the other good virtues of soldiers on earth, spiritual soldiers and warriors for God, soldiers of Christ, if we are any of that, and we have a voice to speak, and we speak, we will shut them down, not evilly, not harmfully, but the word, he came to bring a sword, and that's what the word does, that's what truth does. So they don't want that. They want to stop us from getting there. Oh no, don't do that. That we don't do that on earth. We don't tell the truth, and we don't live good lives and follow our passions. We just do what we're told and live in darkness. I guess that's what they think. So unenlightened humans are like dogs licking the beggar at the gate of the rich man, licking the wounds, and like flies to excrement, they are predispositionally magnetized to weaknesses, insecurities, broken spirits, childhood traumas, wounds, shame, especially shame, and guilt, and especially guilt. So the unawake who are in the three ego minds by default will, as well as predators, will point these weaknesses out with false truths, false vibrations of light from their mouths, and their intention is to get reactive behavioral actions out of us, like glitched movements or twitches or fidgets or repressing of anger or a rise out of us of emotions and so forth. And I know psychologically they call that something when you, like Freudian slips, you think you're saying something and just something slips out, or there's like Freudian behavioral slips too, or whatever the business that is, they have words for it. I'm doing my best here. But the solution to this is by faith. And faith is AKA knowing confidently and believing in the gut. Illuminating the truthful gut knowing. And there, that's the place, there, to stand, having done all, and to prophesy if necessary. So, just a couple more notes here. If there's people or topics that are dichotomous, so polar opposites opposing each other, the ego and against the higher mind, that they can't reconcile, that can't be reconciled. That's why the mind and the spirit is in the war, in our mind is in a war for our soul, is because the mammalian brain and the higher brain cannot reconcile. Like, one has to be in power and the dominant thinker, or the other one. They both want the power, but only one is the rightful king, queen of the vessel. The other one's the false imposter, unrightful ruler, unjust kings. What do they call it? So if there's these dichotomies coming from the people, the external people, they'll present a dichotomous attack, something you can't reconcile. They'll bring up something shameful. They'll just blurt out some synchronous, coincidentally statement that reminds you of something from your childhood, your past, a mistake, something wicked, something terrible, a sin, something you've done, something you're guilty for, that you're embarrassed about, they'll bring it up and they'll use it against you. It's their court of law. That's the mammalian brain's court of law, and they are bringing the charges. And they don't care if they do. They do not care if they do. They do. And of course the world is going to say, well, God already said it, we're not fighting flesh and blood, so these people are not literally out to get us. So it's a little hard when you have people who go so far down into the mammalian brain, into such warfare as schizophrenias and other mental disorders that are so deep, where they feel like these people are out to get them. They can't reconcile any higher thinking that no, these people are not out to get them, those sort of things. So if we're thrown into these attacks where we can't reconcile something, we get ejected and projected down into the mammalian brain, into our fight, flight, freeze, fawn, parasympathetic nerves. We can bypass all of that in the moment by faith. We can bypass the valley of the shadow of death, aka the gut full of darkness, where we're enchained and enslaved to its digestions of darkness and fear, digestions of fear and digestions of shame and digestions of guilt. All the trauma is held in the netheric regions of our anatomy and stored in there. It can be released with, yogas and stretching and hip movements and proper fasting. I can't even think of food word. What is the food word? Diet. And so, i.e., so the valley of the shadow of death, i.e. the darkened gut brain and its mammalian brain ruler, and we can prophesy. So the solution is we can prophesy. We can bypass this through faith. We can prophesy. We can prophesy what we see, and we can prophesy what we hear. Because everything else will be an internalization for us if we feel something. We can know all about the external mirrored ego projection coming at us. We know all about it. We can know what it is in our own gut, where the wound is, what it's from, and where it's trying to take us. And we can prophesy about it. We can prophesy the exact opposite. Where we know God is taking that, what we know God is doing about that. Now, this can be a couple of different ways. I mean, there's moments where if we're strong enough, so much word power, light power in us, will just, like an atomic bomb, it will just, not like an explosive ticking time bomb, but like, maybe that's the wrong bomb, like the splitting of an atom. When you see those TV representations, they just, the light goes across the universe. Like when there's enough power, that seed breaks open within us, that light goes, and these prophetic utterances come out of us. That's how it works. And we can prophesy either, we know it's scripture, and it just, boom, we just spit it out, that's probably a bad way. We don't want to spit the word, but Jesus put spittle on the ground, so just get it out there. And so we can prophesy. Having done all means when we're under attack, there's no changing the external people's minds or behaviors. So we've done all technically. We just existed, and then when that's not good enough for them, and our heart and our intentions within us and the word being peaceful in a loving, abiding way ain't good enough for them, we've done all we can. Now we stand, because we're under attack. So we stand on the word in the belly and the gut. And there's a couple things that might be of helpful use here. Jonah was thrown into the wrong belly. A big fishy ate him up. And then Job was brought up for an accounting at time of digestion. And the dark false angel of light spoke gluttonously of Job from his bile, his dark gut. Satan went in there and enslaved him under some sort of mental digestive problem or food digestive problem or something. He got him in the gut somehow. And he started inducing Job's higher mind, his God mind, to agree to the mammalian thinking. And he succumbed to his miseries for a while until he turned back to fasting his gut and standing on the God light that is there. And then God restored what was his. We can talk about later kind of like how as if it never had happened, because that's another places for another conversation. But nonetheless, if you read Job, it looks like he got something consolationary back, better than what he had, but he still nonetheless got a life back. And he came out of his gut mind, his gut brain, and his ego control and the external world and Satan's control of external puppets and other ego minds as well as ours. So that will be that for this one.